We are live. Thank you, Dr. Patrick Porter, for being here today with us to explain the benefits of the BrainTap. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's good to be here, Amanda.
Awesome. So just tell us a little bit about your background and how you developed the BrainTap.
Okay, my background, I started actually doing something in this field actually when I was 12 years old. My dad was a meditation instructor in a process called the Silva method. Some people have heard of that. There's still millions of people using it today. And it uses a machine or machine learning because it used a mechanical sound to put you into an altered state. And then we would use what's called GSR machines or galvanic skin response systems. So you're basically training your brain. It's not the old school meditation like you'd see in the movies or see a guru using. It was basically meant to down-regulate your stress and help you. And then over the years, I went to work for a company called Light and Sound Research for years. We're the inventors of the very first light and sound machine that's on the market. So what we did was we took a big machine that was a clinical model that was used by hand, and we created a personal version of that. So I've been out there sharing that with communities for a very long time. I sold the company, that old company, in 2006 and kind of semi-retired. But in 2014, when technology again made a resurgence, I said, wow, I want to build something new and different, something that wasn't ever built before. And I built the now available BrainTap headset. And we're working with about 2,400 clinics to get that done. I'm more of the research now. We have a whole team of people that run our company, but we have research in 12 different major universities around the country. And I'll talk a little bit about that maybe today just to share some of those things. But now it's really nice because back in the 80s when I first started this with my dad and people, we were questioned all the time. Now there's no question. Everyone's brain can get better, can improve. We can get people off the dementia scale. We've proved that in 6 weeks. We can help people with their golf game. We proved that at a university in Florida where we took national champions 3 years in a row to show them that these are elite athletes. We could improve their focus and concentration by over 300%. So we've got some incredible things, and we're just happy for you, Amanda, out there sharing it with your community. And I'm here to hopefully, one of our goals is to better 1 billion brains. So we've got a few on the call here, and I want to inspire them to start improving themselves, whether it's with BrainTap or some other source. We need to continue to improve our brain and get some brain fitness going here.
I love it. I love everything you're about and helping people. That's wonderful. So walk us through the technology and how it works, and so we can understand it a little bit better.
Okay. And I do have a short presentation too that I wanted to go over. But when we look at the headset here, the headset has lights in here. They're not on right now because the session would have to be playing. Those lights are very specific frequency lights that train the brain. So our brain learns by whatever's happening around it. It's going to try to sync to its environment. For instance, if you're sitting by the ocean, you're going to feel relaxed and comfortable because the ocean has a frequency that is an alpha frequency. Alpha is a brain wave that is just as you get to relax. If you like to garden or play a sport or hang out with your friends, that's the state that's kind of timeless, where you don't really feel much. Time passes very quickly sometimes with that, or it can expand. Time is not as relevant. We also have lights in the ears, and it's all about getting energy into the brain. As we get better looking and more intelligent with age, certain things happen to our brain, and we want to make sure that our brain gets the energy it needs. And what we found more than anything else is that people that don't have energy, they start to display symptoms of dementia, or even it can spiral into Alzheimer's. But if we can catch it early enough, the brain can rebuild itself. We've shown that now in 3 different studies with BrainTap, that we've taken people off the dementia scale, so it uses sound too. And when you're wearing it, you basically take a nap. There's nothing you need to do. You basically sit back, relax. The training happens on what we call the other than conscious level, which means you can be there, you can participate if you want, but it's better if you just kind of let go, let the brain learn, because our brain learns without our conscious thought. It's kind of like if you've ever known, like myself, I have 2 grandchildren. I didn't notice it with my own children because I was too stressed out being a parent. But with my grandkids, I noticed when they started talking, it was like one day they're babbling, the next minute they're speaking in sentences. I go, what the heck happened? Why couldn't I learn that in school when I was trying to learn Spanish or French? It was because they were teaching me all wrong. When children learn, they're in a state of theta. That's a brainwave state just before sleep. We also call that hypermnesia or supermemory states. Again, as we get older, these are the brainwave states that unfortunately atrophy and they start to diminish in our brain. And not that they're not there anymore, it's just that stress takes over. The more stressed we are, the more exhausted our nervous system is, the less likely it is for us to have good brain fitness. And so that's what I'll share a little bit on my talk, and then I can open up to questions if you want, Amanda. I think that might be the best because I'll probably answer a lot of questions when I go through my short presentation.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and share the screen with you here.
Yeah, I have it. They've done that for me. So let me go to the desktop.
Oh, great.
We'll go here. And when we look here, first thing I like to tell people is most people, when they get in a fear-based state, they can't critically think, which is pretty bad because right now, if you look at the broadcast news, we're all being subject to a lot of fear. That fear actually will inhibit our body's natural immune system. There's something called psychoimmunology, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But there is a war going on right now for what's between our ears. We need to stay at peace and calm and realize that we have an incredible nervous system. They call it an innate nervous system. It can handle stress. It can relax. The problem is that if it gets stuck in any of these, we have trouble. So when we think about the mental health situation that's happening right now, 46% of people between 18 and 29 are now, they have mental health issues. And this is happening because of the stress that's going on. This used to only be, the elderly people that would have certain problems like that. Anxiety, depression is skyrocketing. This one blew me away when I was doing my research for a talk. 52% of college students will refrain from expressing any political or social views. This is part of fear and critical thinking. I believe that in order to function at its highest level, there's a book out called Blue Zones for those that want to live healthy into a centenarian or whatever age you're going to be. They talk about one of the keys to living long and healthy is having a good relationship with your community, having a community to communicate with and speak with. So that starts with us, but we need to have a way to do that with other people. So Amanda, like your clinic, bringing people in, socializing, that's really key for longevity and healing. Now, what does fear and stress do to the brain? First of all, your brain, it's meant to switch between survivor mode and thriving mode. But what happens is if we get stuck in any of these, it's not good to be stuck in thriving mode all the time either, because if you're in thriving mode all the time, this is your rest, relax, digest mode of the nervous system. We won't do anything. We'll just lay in bed all day. We won't get up and do any of the work. So, there's an old expression, some people are so heavenly proud they're no earthly good. We need to keep them busy doing something. But the survivor mode, that's there's a part of our brain called the amygdala, and this part of the brain is your primitive brain. This is the part of the brain that's been hijacked through stress. So when you think about your primitive brain and what it's doing, we need to definitely make sure that you're able to flip the switch. This is what BrainTap does. It takes you from that stress state, flips the switch, gets you into the more positive brain state, which is the thriving brain. Now, this is a study that we did that the National Institute of Health during 2020, we were going to present it live, but of course, everyone knows what happened in 2020. We didn't have live events. So we had to present this online. But this was presented to the National Institute of Health through their integrative medicine conference. And what we showed them, 100 people doing BrainTap. And by the way, Amanda does have this technology at her clinic that we used for this study. And what we showed was in one session, a client would come in, we would measure their nervous system before, have them do the BrainTap session, then measure it afterwards. The stress index went down 38.5% in one session. And if you were to see this study, which you can find at, we can get Amanda the studies and you can see it at her clinic, but we had 13 different parameters that improved from that study. Now, what we found was, and the nice thing is if you are using the equipment is, this became their baseline, which meant if you use the technology at least a minimum of 3 times a week, at the end of a month, this is the way you woke up in the morning, which meant that you now have more flexibility, you have less stress, your body is functioning better, and your life improves. Now, when we think about psychoimmunology, which I talked a little bit about already, this fear, stress, it actually starts to diminish how our immune system functions. We have a thinking immune system, which means, I don't know if anyone on this call has ever been subject to allergies, but they did a study that showed when they show the allergies, like the allergen, like on the right, or a spike protein, that the actual psychosomatic illness goes up 40%, which means it's not really there, but people's minds trigger that response. So it's really important that we clear out our mind of negative thoughts, negative experiences, and let life happen through us instead of to us. And this is another one of the benefits of BrainTap. Now, our main goal here with BrainTap is to help you to think better, sleep better, and perform better. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those. When we think about thinking better, we have programs we showed at school, how we use this there's a whole school system called the Creative School that has a BrainTap in every classroom. So when a child is stressed out, anxious, nervous, they can escape from that stress, tension, and nervousness by going to the back of the room, putting the headset on, listening to a session and clearing that out, regaining their composure and returning back to the classroom. Our goal is to get it into more classrooms because they're showing that when children are able to do that and not sit there with that fear state and anxiety, they think better. Of course, they perform better. Now, in sleeping better, we did a study in Australia just recently, Western Australia, with coal miners. These are people that don't sleep very well. They actually go to sleep, they go to work in the dark, they work in the dark because they're in a coal mine, and they leave and it's dark. So their body doesn't get what's called the circadian rhythm. That's what our sun does to our body. It triggers us to have good sleep cycles, creates the melatonin that we need to give us energy and vitality through the day. When they used BrainTap for 6 weeks, we improved their sleep scores by 70%. So we know we also did a study just recently with a Peak Performance Institute that worked with the top performers at Google. And we were able to, they didn't even realize they had depression, but we had them all take the depression testing, and they improved their depression score over 71% because they were now less stressed, they were getting better sleep, and they were more focused on the job at hand. So this is where we can perform better. There's so much research that shows without stress, you simply perform better in whatever you're doing. So again, I think I mentioned this earlier, when we're around the ocean, that ocean has a response to our brain. The amygdala actually is always looking around the environment. They also call it the reticular activator. So this part of our brain is always looking around, making sure it's safe. And because our brain is always processing our reality at hyper speed, we're taking in about 25,000 pieces of information through our ears, 2,000 through our eyes, but we act on less than 40 pieces of information. So all that other information gets thrown out. But when it's something unique, like sitting next to the ocean, when we can feel the sun, we can listen to the waves, we're there, our body matches that. Now, what happens when we're in that state of alpha is our body creates neurotransmitters that make us feel good. And these neurotransmitters, basically, they're the same ones that happen when you fall in love. So that's why when people say, I love going to the ocean, it's because they have that experience. Now, most people think this is meditation. Go to the mountaintop and do it. Well, the reason that it works when you go to the mountaintop is a mountain at the top of the mountain. And to put this in perspective, I guess, for this group, if you were in a spaceship and you were going toward Earth and you could measure the frequency of our planet, our Earth frequencies has a response of 0.05 to 100. 100 would be a volcano going off. 0.05, we actually have dead spots on the planet, which means there's no frequency response. So someplace on the planet, it always resonates between these frequencies. Now, mountain at the top of the mountain is 7.8 hertz frequency. They call that the Schumann frequency or the Earth frequency. That's the baseline of the Earth. That's where people go, like the gurus intuitively knew to go there to meditate, because when you're in that field, you create what's called theta. Theta activity produces something called GABA. GABA is the precursor to something called DMT. So I know this might be getting a little too sciencey. I don't want to get too far off just sharing with you the science a little bit. But what that means is when you're sleeping, you're dreaming. If you're on this call and you say, I don't dream, I'm going to guarantee you I could put you on an EEG machine and you would have very little theta activity, because it's normal to dream and it's normal to remember those dreams. It's part of our psychology that keeps us sane and able to function in our daily life. But unfortunately, most people are they're in the busy cities. That's 18 plus cycles. This is beta. This is where fear, frustration, and anxiety reign supreme. So when people try to meditate or they try to do something to get rid of stress, they're fighting against themselves because they're in the wrong environment. We need to create the right environment. And that's what BrainTap does with the ear lights and the eye lights and the sounds that are happening. Basically, it captures your attention, guides you through a process, and literally transports you to another sensation or feeling so you get the results that you want. Now, this piece of information I'm going to share with you is going to blow you away, because science now proves it's not a metaphysical concept. You are a light being. Every cell of your body has something at the very core called mitochondria. This mitochondria is the energy of the cell. They now know that energy actually transmits information, not only to you, but people that you're around. So this information, they call it biophotic exchange. When they mapped our genes, they said, hey, we only have 1% of the genes that are meaningful, 99% are junk DNA. The reality is now, that was 2003 when they said that. 2019, they're saying, no, that 99% of junk DNA isn't junk at all. It actually changes every 40 seconds. So you heard me right. Your genes express differently every 40 seconds based on the food you consume, the beverages you drink, the communications you have, the books you read, the activities you take part in. All of that, that's called epigenetics. So we have our genetics, and they now know that who made you, mom and dad, that only is 20% of who you are. The other 80% can be changed. And they're proving this out time and time again. So you're not a slave to your genes, in other words. You can change those. On another note, they did a study that showed people who are in a state of relaxation, a state of love, gratitude, harmony with their environment, they actually broadcast more light. You heard me right. Everyone on this call is broadcasting infrared light from their body. That's why they can see you with night vision goggles. But our science officer actually designed some clothing that Tom Brady sells. It's called TB12 recovery wear, because what we did was we created clothing that our own body's infrared light reflects back and heals us. So when people are saying, why do you use light in the BrainTap? Well, the main reason we do is our body needs light. It's the most underprescribed nutrient on earth. So you're going to learn more and more about that as you get closer involved with BrainTap. That's really important. So I wanted to just share that with you before you ask me some questions or talk about it. We could go do more, but I thought those might be the most important pieces to share with the group tonight before we get into some Q&A.
Fantastic. That was great information. And light is very important. I know we have the red light bed here too. And we've had fantastic results with pain as well. Does this BrainTap address that issue people have with pain?
Yes. In fact, in the 80s, when we first invented it, we did this for pain clinics. We have two different studies that I want to mention here. One was with the company out of Texas called American Pain and Wellness. And we did a study with 30 people that had botched surgeries, and pain medicine would not work for them. So no medicine would touch their pain. But the thing is that we have opioid receptors in our brain. We create our own environment for pain or not pain. I myself personally have been through painless surgery where my dad helped me, and they took my shoulder, took a piece of my collarbone, put it here, put a screw through it with nothing more than autosuggestion. My dad taught me how to go into the level, and pain is optional. I know that's hard for people who are in pain to understand, but in our study, a 10-week study, at the end of 10 weeks, 90% of those in the study could be pain-free for 24 hours if they use the BrainTap at least once a day. Every person in the study, while they were using BrainTap, was pain-free. That's because pain is only registered in one brainwave state. That's called beta. That's your awake state. If you show me somebody who's stressed, anxious, nervous, and in pain, I'm going to show you somebody who has a high degree of beta activity. You show me somebody who's easygoing, relaxed, comfortable. They might have the same physiological problems as the other person, but they won't feel the pain because their neurochemistry is working with them instead of against them. So the body works with you instead of against you, in other words. The other study is going on right now, right this very moment. In the country of Brazil, they have a group called Invisa. Invisa is their FDA. So Invisa is paying for BrainTap to do a study. They paid $250,000 to do a study with people in intense pain because they want to get rid of opioids. So their intention is to give everybody a BrainTap instead of opioids because there's no negative side effects. The worst thing that can happen is you get a good nap, instead of opioid addiction, which if you've not seen, I think it's Dope Sick is the documentary. It's terrible what opioids are doing to the world. And the reason they're doing that is people don't know how to activate their own opioid receptors. Well, that's what we invented BrainTap for. Then we found out all the other benefits that it has. It actually started with a pain control component. And, we've done study after study to prove that it works to reduce and even eliminate pain. We have a series called Pain-Free Lifestyles that's used through most of our clinics when the doctors are working with the patients.
Wow. So when someone does come in with pain, what's the best program to put them on?
There's actually a program called Pain-Free Lifestyle.
Okay.
And there's 10 of them. The first 3, and the nice thing is that we're going to teach them how to do this on their own. Obviously they could do it with the BrainTap, but we also want to teach them that their brain, their neurochemistry can do it. So once you have the training, if you follow the instructions, you can do this on your own once you're done. So it's a training process to train the brain to overcome that anxiety or that fear, that the negatives that are associated with pain.
Wow. And I understand that you used to work with a lot of weight loss clinics or people that were trying to lose weight. How does this help with people that are trying to get over their food addictions or weight loss?
Well, there's a few things. When we were featured in People magazine, this was in 2006, they asked us, do we have anybody who's ever taken off half their weight and kept it off for more than 5 years? We sent them over 1,000 people. I had 108 locations around the United States. So it was normal for people to take the weight off and keep it off because it's not always what you're eating. It could be what's eating you, which means what's the psychological reasons you're eating. Now, obviously, you can't eat junk food and think you're going to lose weight. A lot of people say that. But what we can do is get the stress levels down. One of the things I like to inform people about is stress is a fattening process itself. If you have one stressful event, they now know your liver produces enough sugar, just like a candy bar. So that's why people that have never eaten candy before go to their doctor and they say, you're a type 2 diabetic. You go, but that can't be true. I don't eat any sugar. Do you have stress? Our body is designed to produce its own sugar. That's the mistake. We eat way too much sugar in our world right now. In fact, we could get away with eating just 1% in general of what everyone's eating on this call. They could get by with less than 1%. They've actually proven we don't even need carbohydrates, which are converted into sugar. So, most people eat way too much sugar. So we help with that, but we also help with just becoming a conscious eater. And, so many people, they start eating and they don't know they're done until the fork hits an empty plate. And they go, I must be done. The plate's empty. Well, it takes about anywhere between, depending on who you are, 12 to 17 minutes for the stomach to actually tell your brain you're full. So the faster you eat, the more you're going to eat. So slowing down that process, chewing it. I like to tell people the taste and flavor of the food is what fills you up, not the amount of food. The amount of food is what we push through. So it's about making, and we have a saying too, that nothing tastes as good as being healthy feels. So if you think about that, most people that are overweight, they're not doing it to gain weight. Like they usually gain their weight 2 to 3 pounds every year for the last 10 years. And then they wake up and they're 30 pounds overweight. They didn't set a New Year's resolution to gain 30 pounds. They didn't do anything. And so the body itself, as we get better looking and more intelligent, as I mentioned earlier with age, our body's metabolism naturally slows down because we're not as active. That doesn't mean we can't be as active. And I know, like, you have the same equipment that I have at my clinic. They could get on the Sonic and start working out their lymphatic system. There's a lot of things you can do to lose weight, but the first thing you have to do is change the way you think between your ears. You have to think like a naturally thin person. And that's not saying that overweight people can't be healthy. I mean, we've measured some people that were overweight that had better health than thin people. I'm just saying that you don't see a lot of that. That's the exception to the rule, not the rule. And being too thin is also not healthy. You know, there's a unique balance that happens. Some people are better with an extra 10 pounds. Some people are better losing those 10 pounds. But you'll know that by what happens to you in your own personal fitness once you tune into it and start realizing that.
Wow. How about somebody with like a heart condition? How would this help?
We actually have a healthy heart program that we started with the University of Toronto. And what it does is it helps people become more aware that your body is intelligent. It knows what to do. You can trust it. Just because you might have had a heart attack or an aneurysm or whatever is going on with your circulatory system, the body is self-healing, self-repairing. And of course, we always talk about nutrition. There's 3 phases to wellness. First phase is nutrition. You cannot think of bad diet. So if that heart attack might be a wake-up call. Or so, start eating heart healthy foods, which means eating healthy fat, not avoiding it. Get rid of your statins, which might be causing the problem. There's a lot of reasons for that. Talk to a real doctor that isn't hoodwinked by the pharmaceutical community, and you'll find out that there's healthy things that you can do for your body that don't take. You don't have to have a pill to do it. I mean, I'm a big one on supplementation though, because you have to do that. You have to drink good water. I use hydrogen water primarily, and I know you do too, because our body needs that for metabolism and things. So there's all these things that you can do, but the one thing that most people don't realize is if your thinking isn't right, you've thrown off your whole nervous system. You could be eating the world's greatest supplements and foods, but if you're anxious and stressed out, you're simply going to eliminate them because it's no longer helping you to digest that food. So when talking about the heart, the biggest thing we can do for the heart is to give it that time for recovery. Because when we're going pell-mell all day long, rush, busy, that's taxing on the heart. And it's okay. We've all heard the story of somebody, hey, I can't believe Jim had a heart attack. He never got angry with anyone. Well, Jim should have got angry because it's okay to get angry. It's just not okay to stay angry. We have to get angry, get over it, and we have to laugh. We have to have all the different ranges of emotions. If we get stuck in any emotion too long, it's going to be bad for our nervous system. And that's really what we teach in the Healthy Heart program is that it's okay to, a lot of people think, I'm going to walk on pins and needles because I had this heart problem. Well, your heart is going to recover very quickly given the right environment because you need that heart, right? You can't last very long without it. So it will repair itself. And part of it is just relaxing and getting the body into that recovery mode where the body, and we can measure that, like the NeuroCheck that you have at your office now, you can measure somebody's heart coherence. What most people don't know, just for the group here, just so they understand, your heart has 40,000 neutrino cells, which means you have a heart brain. That's the brain that controls the whole show. And when somebody says, why do you think there are more heart attacks on Monday morning than any other day of the week? It's because people don't have their heart in their job. If you spend 1/3 of your life at your job and you don't like it, your heart gives out because you don't have the heart. So these are psychosomatic reasons. So think of what you're thinking in your brain, it manifests in your body. This is called psychosomatic disorders. Like, just as another example, if you're not willing to change and transform your life, you'll have knee problems. If you're not able to accept gifts, you'll have problems on your left side. There's books about this, and every time that in my clinics we had these books in every room because we'd have our patients read them and say, is this you? I've never seen it not to be true. The body manifests, the mind manifests in the body. Think of your body as a second brain. It's simply recording information and plays back to you. So think of your heart. We need to be more loving to ourselves, We need to be more caring. We need more vitamin G, as they call it, gratitude. We need to be grateful. No matter what's happening to you, I can guarantee you at least 99% of the time, you're going to be better than over 50% of the people on the planet if you live in America. And, unless you're destitute and you're living on the streets, if you have a house over your head, in fact, they say if you have extra money at the end of the month, you're better than 99% of all people on earth. So,
Wow.
doesn't take much, but being an American, we want it fast, we want it free, we want a limo to pick us up to get our winnings. We're really spoiled here. So, we need to be grateful for what we have so we get more. And that's the way it works.
Absolutely. What about children?
We have a great children's program. In fact, we've done many programs to show what happens with kids. Primarily what's happening with children in their brain activity is there's a brainwave called alpha. So if somebody has too much alpha, they are hyperactive and they don't have attention. If they don't have any alpha, they are autistic. So we've shown, like in the autistic population, we did a study where we showed that once we encouraged the alpha activity up to 23% of the brain activity, almost everyone in the study started speaking. And the therapists were like blown away. What's going on here? I go, well, that's because the alpha brainwave controls language. How many times have we seen people get up and speak and they freak out? They don't remember what to say because they're under stress. When you're under stress, you diminish your alpha brainwave activity. That's why practicing, rehearsing, and they try to make light of it. Like if you have a fear of public speaking, you're supposed to imagine the audience naked, and, things like that, just to relax your brain, to get you more comfortable with what's going on. But it's really about, taking control of that stress. And all unhappiness stems from unfavorable comparisons. So whatever you're thinking about yourself internally and whatever shows up in your life, if they match, we tend to be happy. If you're doing something is not congruent or not in alignment with your values and your beliefs, then you'll be unhappy from the inside out, and it'll show up as poor health in the body.
Wow, that was powerful information. What about time of day and how often?
Well, there's 3 different times of the day that we recommend using it, but any time's better than no time. I have a saying, it's just like exercise, a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. So but in the morning, we have 10-minute sessions. We call these digital coffee because they work the same way as coffee does to your system, except there's no negatives. We're going to encourage a brainwave called SMR, sensory motor rhythm. This is the one that as we get older and we lose our flexibility and we lose our balance, it's our vestibular system is controlled by this brainwave. So that's the one we give in the morning for cognition. It helps it's the one that we had the people in the study where we had the dementia study, which took people off the dementia scale in 6 weeks, the one we had them do in the morning. So that's a 10-minute one. They're pretty easy to find. It's called Wake Up. So you can do them anytime, but they're really meant to upregulate the brain function. We have sessions in the middle of the day that we call reboot sessions. These are sessions that give you deep theta training. And what happens there is your body actually gets to reboot the equivalency of a 4-hour nap in 20 minutes. So just to put in perspective, we did this with a group of soccer players at Kansas City Sport. It's a professional soccer team in Kansas City. And we showed them that after their workout, how long does it take for them to recover? So they're done with their workout. For a professional athlete, it takes 4 hours to get back to their baseline of their heart rate. We showed them if they did a brain tap right after their practice, that they would recover in 20 minutes. So, and now if you go to Kansas City Sports facility in Kansas City, you'll see a 20-station brain tapping room there, because before the athletes leave the practice facility, they have to do a brain tap because it helps them recover faster. And the unfortunate thing they were doing was they were having a beer after their workout, but these are young professional athletes, they could get away with it, so you want to definitely not have a beer to recover. We showed them that by having one beer, they delayed their recovery by 12 hours. So, that's why it's so important to figure out what are you doing for recovery, because the brain had to metabolize, digest to get rid of all that alcohol and all those carbohydrates. The body's doing that. So, and then we have sleep sessions. We call them Go to Sleep. Our sleep app, Sleep RX, was voted the best sleep app of the year in 2020. So that's a part of our program, and it trains the brain to go into a state of deep delta. And the key to deep delta is that when you're in deep delta, your brain detoxes. If you don't reach deep delta during sleep, your brain doesn't detox. There's a part of the body called the glial lymphomic system, and that's what drains the toxins out of the brain, but it only opens up during deep level 4 sleep. So that's why sleep is so, another reason I should say why sleep is so important. There's a lot of reasons, but that's one of the key reasons.
So someone that's not sleeping at night, that's in overwhelm all the time, like what kind of symptoms typically show up first?
Well, they'll usually have they'll have pain in their chest, they'll get anxiety, they'll have a sense of dread or foreboding that happens. Sleep is so important. They actually say if you don't sleep well for 3 nights in a row, your nervous system functions like you just had 3 beers. So, when it diminishes everything you do. I tell people it's your incubator for your superpower. We all have a superpower. We all do something really well, but even if you don't sleep, that thing you do really well, you won't do as well. One of the things, and we've all had those days where we had a great night's sleep, maybe we were on vacation and we were able to sleep in and we felt really good. We felt like, hey man, I could take on the world. Well, that can be your life every day if you learn how to sleep well. I measure my sleep every day. I have an Oura ring. And even when I'm out of town, I still score a 94 to 97 sleep score because I know how to sleep. Most people have never trained themselves to sleep. They think sleeping is something we just do naturally. And that's true. I've heard people say, I slept like a baby. And I'll say, were you full of shit and cried all night? Because that's what most people do. The reality is that most people don't sleep through the night. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is at 2 o'clock in the morning, your temperature increases 2 degrees. So if you're not getting deep sleep, you'll wake up between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And some people can't get back to sleep. But if you get that deep level 4 sleep, that won't even bother you. You'll be like a speed bump in the parking lot you don't even feel. But if you're on the threshold of waking up, you'll feel that stress and it will wake you out of that slumber.
You are a wealth of knowledge. Oh my gosh, I could listen to you all day long. Let's go and open it up for the audience here to get some questions answered. I know they're probably dying to ask some questions as well as the ones in the audience here. So if you do have a question, we can go and take the ones online first. Just type it in the chat. I think would probably be the best option. So if you have a question for Dr. Porter, please just type it in the message. And then those of you in the audience, think about what questions you have. We do have one question over here. So we'll go ahead and take the question here in the audience. What's your question?
One said, how young can you be to utilize it? We've had people as young, if you go on Facebook and put in hashtag BrainTap, you'll see there's one that I really love. It's a baby. The baby's crying, and every time they put the headset on, the baby stops crying. They take it off, it starts crying, and because it balances the hemispheres. But we recommend about 4 years old is the youngest. But we've had babies use it, especially if they are if they've been compromised in some way, like vaccine compromised or something like that, seems to be the most unfortunate one that babies have.
Okay, great. We have another one here. Do you have a website that references the studies?
Yes, if they go to braintapresearch.com, they'll see it there. BrainTap Research, or you can go to research.braintap.com. But yeah, there's also a tab on our website. And Amanda, I'll get it to you so you can share out the booklet. You can buy our latest research actually on Amazon if you're so inclined, because our doctors wanted it as a book. So I put them into a book. It's called the Study of Results from BrainTap Technology. It's our latest 12 studies that we just published that have been published in the last 2 years. So those studies are out there. There's one that's really fascinating is a concussion study we did with high schoolers. We measured everybody who had a concussion that year through the high school was taken through a protocol, but 50% of them got BrainTap. We followed them for 1 year after their incident. 1 year later, the people that used BrainTap had between a 30 and 70% neurological improvement on all parameters over the people that didn't use BrainTap. So now that's in a bigger study at Florida Atlantic University, and we're getting some of their bigger sports programs involved with that because we're showing that the brain can improve at any age and in any condition. Your brain just needs the right stimulus, and that stimulus happens to be light, sound, and vibration.
Wow, cool. What about stroke victims?
Yeah, stroke victims can use it. That's what the Healthy Heart program is all about. But anything to de-stress, think of it as a stress reduction program. So once you reduce the stress, we can't take away whatever's stressing you, but hopefully we can change the way it affects you physiologically. You know, there's one picture that I have in a lot of my talks. It's got two people on a roller coaster. One looks like she's having the time of her life. The other one looks like she's being tortured, you know, like somebody's, hitting her with electrical shock or something. And it's the same experience going on the roller coaster, but for one person, it's the joyful experience. The other one, it's terror. You know, we need to get people to do what's enjoyable to them and get them off the roller coaster that feels like they're on the terror ride. And that's really what we're talking about with BrainTap, is getting you to focus on what's really going to be healing and rejuvenating for you.
Awesome. Okay, we have a couple more questions here. Let's see. Can people that are hearing impaired, can they use it?
Yes. In fact, even though you're hearing impaired, there's something most people know about bone conduction. This Patrick Flanagan, who invented bone conduction, found out that we don't only hear through our ears, we hear through our whole body, we hear through our bone structure. So there is technology out there for people that can't even hear to hear today. It's the Patrick Flanagan neurophone. But what we found is that the cortical responses that we're asking the brain to register, even when people don't think they're hearing, the brain will still register those responses in the brain. So because it's not meant for your conscious mind anyway. I mean, we do have visualizations and relaxation techniques and music, which keeps your conscious mind entertained. But 95% of your physiology is controlled by your subconscious. So that's the part we need to talk to, not your conscious mind. So even with people who are legally blind, we're working with the cranial nerve too. So you don't have to even be able to see, as long as that cranial nerve 2 is still active. That means you see shadows and lights, and then you'll still get a good response from the BrainTap system.
Cool. Let's see. Can multiple people use it? Or is it for an individual?
No, you can use it. Your whole family can use it if you have the headset, of course. And you can listen to, on 2 devices, 5 listenings a day. So you have 10 listenings. Most people will listen once a day or once every other day. We recommend, actually, when you first get it, to listen 3 times a day for the first 21 days, because think of it like training. You're training your brain. You're training it to wake up in the morning. You're training it to reboot in the afternoon. You're training it to go to sleep. And someone asked, what was the college with the national champion? It's Seminole College. When you go there, you'll see BrainTap actually has a whole page dedicated to it on the college, because now most of their sports teams are using it. The school in Brazil actually renamed their neurocenter BrainTap Neurocenter because of all the results we were getting with the college students down in Brazil. And usually you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for that. They did it just because they love the technology, and they named their building that. So
that's cool.
People are finding that we can improve our brain and our lives very simply by using BrainTap.
Super. All right. If there's any other questions online, I'll go ahead and turn my head here. And yes, chemo brain. Tell us how this is going to affect someone who's been undergoing chemotherapy and might have a chemotherapy brain fog.
Right. We have a program called Coping with Cancer. And that whole program was being used. It would have been best to use it right after the chemotherapy, because the nervous system basically they're wiping you out, and then the body has to rebuild itself. So what we find is it's going to bring back energy. Energy in the form of light, sound, and vibration shows up as ATP in the system. That's what powers the cells. And also it creates what's called vasodilation and blood flow nitric oxide release. So all of these things are part of the healing system of the body, but they happen naturally with light. So as far as the brain's concerned, we're going to do that. But the nice thing is, through something called photobiomodulation, which is a scientific term for light circulating around the body, the light will circulate to the area of the body that needs the healing the most. It's kind of like a stem cell. It's going to circulate until it finds the part of the body that needs the light the most. And it's going to start working on that area. So the biggest thing we find, like my wife unfortunately had breast cancer. And when she was going, she didn't have to do chemo, but she did radiation. She blew them away because all she had to do is bring her BrainTap with her. And at the end of her session, she did a BrainTap session and drove herself home. She never lost any energy, where everybody else is wiped out. People had to care for her. she had natural energy. Nobody would have known that she was going through cancer treatment. And we see this over and over again. Not that, I mean, if you're really bad, of course, you're going to need some help, but you can rebuild that energy. The quicker you can get your energy back, the quicker you're going to heal. So I would say listen to that series, The Coping with Cancer. We also have a program that our natural medicine doctors use. It's called Say No to Cancer. That's for people who have either recovered already, they've been through all their treatments, and it's about changing your belief system and working with your body, because that psychoimmunology piece is so important to trust your body again, that your body's intelligence can take care of that circulating cancer. Because the truth is, we all have circulating cancer. It's just our white marker cells destroy it before it's able to manifest into a tumor. You know, this happens every day, all day long, that our body's in this constant part of it evolving, and cells are dying and being born, you know, like I said earlier, every 40 seconds. So these things are happening all the time.
Cool. Good question. Any other questions over here?
I just had the stroke question.
Okay, you got that one.
What about, say Michelle out there had double vasectomy, and instead of taking chemo now, she's taking pills to cope with it on the healing part. What should she do with this life therapy?
From my understanding, he has a friend that's going through chemotherapy, and she's taking pills now instead of doing the radiation. And what basically is the protocol for someone like her?
Well, I would still have her do the coping with cancer protocol, but also like the red light bed you have. When red light therapy came out, they were trying to show how it would cause cancer. That's what the investigator was trying to prove. What he proved was it healed cancer in mice and rats. And now we know they can't make that claim, but light energy produces ATP, which is the healing agent of the body, and produces nitric oxide. The people that realized that in the body about 10 years ago got the Nobel Prize, because that's the healing mechanism of the body. So once you trigger your own body's innate intelligence, incredible things can happen. And the main thing it's going to do for anybody overcoming any illness is going to help to overcome the stress, because you know your body is doing a lot to try to get back to its normal. You know, it's healthy normal. And so we need to give it the rest and the recovery that is necessary to do that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. Was great. Other questions? We got the doctor right here. Any other questions online? Wow. All right. Well, I guess that concludes. So for those of you that want to purchase one of these, they're very inexpensive. They're only $649. You can go over to my website, amandabobbitt.com, and get yours. When it comes to you, there's instructions, there's an app that you download. It has all the different programs to it. Like you said, you get 4 sessions a day, correct?
Five a day per
sessions a day.
device. You can have it on 2 devices. So you can, if you have a cell phone and an iPad or an Android tablet or something, you can put it on 2 different devices.
Absolutely. So for those of you that want to go over there and order, great. Any other questions, either let us know and we'll answer those. And
there's one here that says, what about the books? You can obviously get the books on places like Amazon.com. Just look up my name. There's all the books are listed there. But also, Amanda, when you give them, when they buy the unit or they go to your link, they can download my book for free. You know, there's a free link. So that one is called Thrive and Overdrive. You can, it's the full book, and you can read it on your Kindle or on your phone or your tablet. It'll explain a lot about what we didn't have time to go over today, about how you can help your body by de-stressing, you know, and what the reason for that is and what's happening. The reason I call it Thrive and Overdrive is our lives have just sped up. I mean, most of you probably have experienced that. I mean, summers used to be long, now they're an eye blink, you know, and things of that nature. And it's not just that I'm getting old. I want to believe that myself. So, you know, so things that are happening. So, you know, we've got to keep up with the times. And I think just slowing everything down and realizing that we can take that time to recenter, refocus ourselves, and get the healing benefits of a deep meditation without the 30 years of practice. You know, that's the big key here.
wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll probably see you at one of the upcoming shows.
Yes, for sure.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Bye, Dr.
Thank
Porter.
you.
Thank you.